Hi, Dr. Bill here with our next newsletter. Obviously this one will be in video format. There are various formats that we use. In a previous format, which was the written one, we talked about a particular form of exercise. And what I'm going to do today is to talk to you about how you can get the most from your exercise while using the least amount of time, which I'm sure you're all interested in. And in fact, 1 hour a week is all you need to achieve your maximum fitness. Now that might sound like an extreme claim to make, but that's actually documented scientifically. So I'd like to show you how you can do that and put it in a simple way for you. Some time ago, a number of months, we put out an article on what we called IVI training, intense varied interval training. And this is one method, and there are more than one. There's another one I'm going to talk about in a moment, but I'm just going to refresh our minds on that one as I introduce this other method, which is similar but not the same. So intense varied interval training is simply where you take your breathing and your heart rate up to its maximum and keep it there for as long as you can. That's the intense side of it. The idea is that you can go anywhere from 1 to 4 minutes with intense breathing, and then you recover. You allow your breathing to come back to normal, and then you again exercise. And now I should add, you can do any exercise you want. It doesn't matter what you do. You can run, you can swim, you can cycle, you can use the cross trainer at the gym, whatever it is that will get your heart rate and your lungs working to their maximum. And you do that from anywhere to 1 to 4 minutes. You have a rest in between, and then you do it again. And you only need to do that intense time for 12 minutes. So you could do 6 lots of 2 minutes, which equals 12. Or you could do 4 lots of 3 minutes. Or you could do 12 lots of 1 minutes. Or you could do 1 lot of 3, 1 lot of 4, 1 lot of 1, 1 lot of 2, etc. So you can mix it up. Now the idea of the varied interval training, interval simply means you do your maximum, then you rest. Maximum, then you rest. Varied means that you may do a 4 minute or a 3 minute or a 2 minute or 1 minute segment. But it also means that, let's say you did 6 lots of 2 minutes for 3 times a week. That would take you an hour. Now, let me break that down for you. The idea is to do 12 minutes of intense exercise. That doesn't count your warm-up, it doesn't count the break time, it doesn't count your cool down. So you need to add those on to the 12 minutes. So let's say you did a couple of minutes warm-up, 30 seconds in between, and then a couple of minutes warm down. That's actually a bit more than 20 minutes. But the figures are not that strict. The idea is to go at your maximum for anywhere to 1 to 4 minutes, and when you add those up, that's 12 minutes. You have your break in between, you have your warm up, you have your cool down. Now the varied, what that means is you may do, as I said, 6 lots of 2 minutes for a couple of weeks, but the idea is to vary that so you're not doing that all the time. So the next couple of minutes, next couple of weeks, you may do 4 lots of 3 minutes, or 2 lots of 3 minutes, 2 lots of 2 minutes, a couple of lots of 1 minutes. I know that might sound a little bit confusing, but the idea is you do your 12 minutes total and you mix it up. You don't do the same thing all the time. What they did with this was this is the book that actually describes the intense interval training, and he calls it, Dr. Al Mears calls it the PACE, P-A-C-E. And the 12-minute fitness revolution. Are aerobics and cardio are dead? Now that's quite a significant statement to make, but in the book is all the research. Now my wife bought me this book, and it sat on my desk for at least 6 months, and I thought, another book on exercise. Last thing I need. Exercise is pretty straightforward. You get out there, not hard to do. So I thought I better read the book, because she got me it for my birthday. So otherwise she's going to say, have you read the book? So I read it, and I couldn't put it down because it just blew me away. All the research that was put into actually this system of exercise. And like most of you, I'm very, very time conscious. So anything that could reduce the amount of time I spent on my exercise was a big bonus for me, and I'm sure it will be for you. So, and you only need to do this 3 times a week. And they said if you do it more than that, it's actually detrimental. The body starts to break down. It also compared the intense varied interval training with long distance or endurance training, where you do a long distance run or long walk or a long swim. Now, let me qualify what I'm about to say here. Almost any exercise is good to some degree, as long as it's not harming your body, with impact or pulling muscles or whatever. So any exercise is good, but some exercise is much better for you. You get a better result. So the idea is the intense varied interval training, they've found through medical testing, is much more effective for you. You get fitter quicker, and it's much better for your health than if you do what we call endurance training, aerobics. Goodness me. Now, there is something else called metabolic syndrome. Now, metabolic syndrome is easily remembered by thinking of a high five. These are the 5 indicators of future major health problems. And they're all problems that occur in the body, and they can all be measured. You've got high blood pressure, you've got high cholesterol, you've got high sugar in the blood, you've got high insulin in the blood, and you've got high amounts of fat stored on different parts of your body. Generally the men store it around the gut, the women around the bum and around the hips. So those 5 indicators, when they start to go above normal, that tells you that your body is in trouble. It is the ideal way to predict a major health problem in the future. Major health problems such as a heart attack or a stroke, cancer, diabetes, arthritis. These are all the major problems that you can get usually later on in your life. And the high five, or the metabolic syndrome, is the ideal way to predict that. Now, when your lifestyle is not ideal for you, especially if that's long term, you have too much stress, whether that's mental stress, whether that's physical stress, working long hours, not sleeping enough, whether that's biochemical stress, wrong diet, allergies, the environment, the pollution, and they all add up. When those exceed your body's ability to cope with it, your body tries to adapt. And the way it adapts is by raising those areas. It raises your blood pressure to try, it's a fight or flight situation. It raises your blood sugar. Again, you need more sugar for fight or flight. It raises the insulin. It raises the cholesterol again. So it's an adaptive mechanism which helps you to cope with stress. What it's not designed to do is to help you cope long term with that. And so when that's long term, that of course can then lead to the body breaking down in the areas that we've just mentioned: cancer, heart attacks, arthritis, etc. Now, although drugs are useful in the short term, if you use drugs to control any of those factors, what you're doing is you are inhibiting the body's adaptive mechanisms. You're suppressing them. Now again, short term, that's fine. But long term, what that does is it actually makes you less able to adapt to your stressful environment. The idea is to change the environment, to change what you do. Easier said than done, but that is the way it is. Now, the analogy we like to use is that if you're driving in your car and your oil light comes on, let's say it's flashing, usually it doesn't, but let's just say it's flashing, and it can be very distracting. So what you can do is you can stop the car, take the bulb out, problem solved, doesn't flash anymore. But if you ignore that, obviously you're going to have long-term damage to your engine, same as your body. Now, if you're trying to drive and that's distracting you, yes, by all means take it out temporarily because it's a problem, but long-term you need to do something about it. So these high five, the metabolic syndrome, are signals to you that your body is having to adapt to an environment that is not ideal for it. And of course, some things in the environment we can't change, but some things we can. Now, the other form of exercise I want to talk to you about is also covered in this book by Phil Campbell, and he calls it the Sprint 8. It's also known as Peak 8. Now what Peak 8 is, similar to the IVI, is that you do 8 lots of 1 minute maximum exertion. It's only 1 minute, but you do it 8 times, and you have an approximate 1.5 minute break in between. So similar to the first one, but a little bit different. And so you warm up for a couple of minutes, whatever you do, then you go flat out for 1 minute. Now if you're doing longer than 1 minute, then you're not going hard enough. I would like to add something very important here. It may take you some time before you can get your body to go flat out for 1 minute. And what I mean by that is you don't want to pull muscles. So it can take a while to get your body to the point where you can go flat out for 1 minute. Then you recover for about 1.5 minutes, and then you do another minute. So 8 lots of 1 minute. Now it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you go up to your maximum heart rate and lung rate for 1 minute. Now if you're not fit, sometimes walking can do that, or walking up steps or walking up a hill. So obviously we're all at different places in our lives. Some of us are older, some of us are not as fit, etc., etc. So it has to be tailored to your where you are at, both in your fitness but also in your body, in what you can actually do in that 1 minute. Now you'll find though that as your fitness improves, it's not easy to go flat out for 1 minute. And what we mean by after that minute, you cannot go any further. You just die. I won't say die, I don't want to use that term, but you just have to stop. You cannot go any further. That's how you know that you're going flat out for that 1 minute, because you have to stop. And usually once your fitness, I've tried that in swimming, and I can't do it in 1 minute. I can go longer than a minute. I can go maybe 2 minutes just going flat out swimming. So usually swimming will not do it for me. So for me, I have to sprint. I have to do like he says in here, the Sprint 8. I have to sprint to do that. You can do it on a bike. You can do it on a cross trainer at the gym. So anything that goes maximum for 1 minute, and then you have a break in between. Again, 3 times a week. So if you do 8 1 minute maximum exertion sessions, 1.5 minutes in between, and you do say 2 minutes before and after, workout, cool down, that's 20 minutes, 3 times a week. You can get to your maximum fitness in just 1 hour a week, 3 20-minute sessions. Sounds crazy, but they have the research to prove it. That we talked about the high five, they measured all of those factors, and all of them improved. Blood pressure, blood sugar, insulin, cholesterol, and fat. Now, there was something else that improved also, and that is the human growth hormone, HGH. Now what human growth hormone is, it's something that is considered by some to be the youth hormone because it helps to keep you young. And as you get older, the amount of human growth hormone in your body decreases. That's why a lot of the film stars and the bodybuilders inject human growth hormone to actually help them keep younger and for the bodybuilders to give them more muscle. So don't get me wrong, girls, human growth hormone won't give you big muscles. What muscles do is give you your normal shape. So a normal shape for a guy, obviously different from a normal shape to a woman. So ladies, muscles are good because muscles burn fat. And muscles do weigh more than fat, so you might weigh a little bit more on the scales, but no one knows that. All you need to worry about is how you look, and muscles give you your shape. So your human growth hormone helps to give you muscle. It puts on muscle and it burns fat. So there is a product called Zeta 8, a Zeta 8 product called Figure 8, which actually helps the body, we believe, actually helps the body make human growth hormone when you're asleep. So a lot of people take this product and take it before they go to bed at night, and it actually helps their bodies to burn fat while they're asleep. So the human growth hormone helps to keep you younger, helps to increase your muscle, and it also helps to burn your fat. Doing Sprint 8 or Peak 8 or the 8 1-minute maximum exertion can increase your growth hormone by up to 7 times, and sometimes a little bit more. 7 times more human growth hormone in your body, and all naturally from doing the Peak 8. It also increases when you do the intense varied interval training, but I don't think it takes it up quite as high. I may need to be corrected on that, but that's from basically what I've read. Either way, they both increase your human growth hormone. So my suggestion is start with the intense varied interval training, because you may find that it takes you 4 minutes to really get your heart rate up and your lung rate up. And start with the intense varied interval training. Get your muscles in your body and your joints used to going flat out, so you build up gradually. So it is important to obviously stretch. The idea is to warm up, then you stretch, which is going to add more time on. Very important to warm up, then you stretch, so as you're taking your body up to its maximum, you're not going to pull a muscle or you're not going to injure something. So I'm a great believer in stretching. Never used to be, but now I am, and I do stretching all the time, because as you get older, whether you like it or not, you're going to get stiffer. That's age does that, and so it becomes critical to do plenty of stretching. Really, the best type of exercise program is in 3 parts: the stretching or the flexibility, the what we call endurance, we shouldn't call it, but where you do your maximum heart rate and your lung rate, and the third one is where you do strength training. That can be done with weights or some type of resistance, pulleys, rubber bands, whatever it is, where you actually do strength training. There is another discovery on strength training, which I'm not going to talk about now, but we'll do that another time, where again you can get the maximum benefit from your strength training, developing your muscles by doing it in a certain way. But that's another subject for another time. Let me just say one other thing that will help you understand why your intense varied interval training or your Peak 8 is so important. They've found that lung capacity is a great indicator of the chances of getting a heart attack. As your lung capacity decreases as you get older, or as you get unfit, you are more likely, this is what the research has shown, you are more likely to get a heart attack. And so the lung capacity, your ability to get air into your lungs, is an indicator of your likelihood of getting a heart attack. So the idea is to strengthen your lungs so that it acts as a preventative for your heart. Not to mention the fact that the better your lungs function, the more oxygen you're going to get into your body, and you need oxygen to be able to burn fuel for energy and for many, many other things. Very few of the pathogens that we know like the presence of oxygen. Cancer cells don't like oxygen, viruses don't, bacteria don't, fungi don't, parasites don't. So all the pathogens and cancer cells do not like oxygen. So the more you develop your lungs, the more you can process oxygen and get them into your body. You develop your heart, increases your circulation, so the delivery system to all your cells is improved also. So that's it for this newsletter. So I'm going to sign off, and we'll talk more in another newsletter on the lungs and on breathing. Thank you, and I want to wish you your health and your happiness. This is Dr. Bill signing off. Thank you. Hi, this is Dr. Bill here. Welcome to our next newsletter, obviously in video format. And I want to talk to you today about how a little known secret on how to increase your energy. Very simple, but often overlooked by many, many people. And I've known about this for a long, long time, but I've only recently, maybe the last 6 months, been using it in my own life. Let me just say that I do lots of things to maintain my health and my fitness. Try not to be fanatical, because life has many other pleasures and interests and responsibilities and time constraints, but my health and my fitness is very important to me. And when you're at a good level, sometimes it's difficult to notice whether something is actually helping you or not. So when something does, it's very profound and very valuable. And so I noticed a significant shift in my energy levels and in my needing less sleep when I practiced these deep breathing exercises. Many years ago, about 40 years ago, I was in India for 6 weeks in my 20s. And I picked up this book, and it was second hand when I bought it in India. And the book is simply called Mental Powers. And when I got the book, it was, as I said, second hand. I think the printing is quite early. You can see it's falling apart. It's the only book I've read more than, well, let me just say, most books I skim through and I read in part. I very rarely read a book from cover to cover. It's even more rare for me to read a book twice. I've probably read this cover to cover 4 times. It sits on my bookshelf, and every time I think I want to get motivated or inspired, I'll read this book. The book actually is copyright 1963, so that makes it 50 years from when and the price was 15 rupees. Now, a rupee when I was in India was worth about 10 cents. So the book cost about $1.50. What he does in the book is he compiles a lot of other books by other authors and puts a little segment into the book. He talks about all of the amazing things that some of the gurus and the yogis and the people in India were able to do with their bodies. Withstand pain, be buried alive, lies on beds of nails, all sorts of different things, healing. And he describes in this book a lot of these things, documents them, a documentation. And he talks about other books, many of them by medical doctors, who have also documented these wonderful miracles and healings that can occur and things you can do with your body. So you can see it kind of excites me and inspires me. But one of the things that it talks about here is how to actually develop these powers, and by using your mind, but also using your breathing. And you may be aware, you should be, that there are a number of disciplines or systems that utilize breathing a lot. Yoga is one of them, of course. Qigong is another one. Tai Chi. So that's just to name a couple. They all utilize breathing. And although we're all aware of that, we don't realize the power of the breath or the air that we breathe in. I mentioned in a previous, well, just before I mention that, these are some of the books that he actually mentioned. Now these look pretty new, don't they, compared to that one? The reason these are a reprint. Copyright expires after a certain period of time. It might be about 70 years, but I'm only guessing. But after a certain period of time, a book can be copied. There's no more copyright on it after a certain period of time. It might be about 70 years. So these are actually reprints of very, very old books, authors that are now long dead. So I've got a number of these, and I actually got the references for the books from this book here. And what they do is they talk about a number of things, but they talk about breathing, and I wanted to share the importance of breathing with you. As I was saying a moment ago, obviously we breathe to bring in oxygen into the body, and oxygen, obviously we die within minutes if we didn't have enough oxygen. So the oxygen we need to be able to burn our fuel to create energy for the body. Interesting that there's no reserve there for that, although some people can defy the odds. Some people can be drowned and not breathing for a while, and there's no brain damage, and they're fine. So, but we should know how important it is for oxygen, because oxygen provides the energy for every cell in the body. Oxygen also helps to destroy pathogens and cancer cells. So oxygen has a number of uses. So when we practice deep breathing and when we exercise to our maximum for our lung capacity, we increase the power of the lungs to bring in oxygen into the body. So even when we're not thinking about it, or when we're not exercising, our lungs are working more efficiently. And as I also mentioned in a previous newsletter video, how our lung capacity is an indicator of our likelihood of getting a heart attack. So when the lung capacity decreases, our chance of getting a heart attack is increased. Our lung capacity does decrease as we get older, but you can beat the odds if you do maximum exertion with your exercise, such as the Peak 8 or the IVI, intense varied interval training, which we've mentioned before. So with the oxygen, it has many uses, but I want to talk more about air. Now, it is believed that when you breathe in air, which contains oxygen, air also contains energy. Now, when I use the word energy, I realize that energy is a very nondescript term. If you go on the internet and you type in energy, what you'll get is all the electricity companies. And as you know, in Australia, there is a name of the company that supplies our energy or our power is Energy Australia. Interesting. So energy has many, many forms and many types of descriptions. So when I use the term energy, just be aware that I'm talking about a certain type of energy. Now, the Asians call it chi, the Indians call it prana, so it has different names, but the air contains this energy. So when you're doing proper breathing, your body's able to absorb that prana or that chi from the air you breathe. There are many different systems of breathing. One is where you take a deep breath in, you hold it for a certain length of time, then you breathe out for a certain length of time, then you hold that breath out for a certain length of time, Then you breathe in again for a certain length of time. Hold it for a certain length of time, breathe out for a certain length of time, hold it out for a certain length of time. And so it can get a little bit tricky and a little bit complicated. What I do, and I'm only going to share with you what I do, and I found it to be successful. I always like to try and simplify things so I'm getting the most from the least. That's how I like to work. So what I do is I find a place where I can be undisturbed. Usually I go outside on the lawn because you can actually get energy from the ground. If the sun's not too hot, I'll try and have part of my body in the sun, because again you get energy from the sun. So again, I'm maximizing the energy absorption from the ground and from the sun. So I have my hands and my bare feet on the grass with my knees bent. So I get in a comfortable position, something supporting my head, something over my eyes to darken my vision so I can concentrate more. And what I do is I do a number of deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, to warm up my lungs and get them stretched, get them ready. Then when I feel I'm ready, I take a deep breath in and I hold it for as long as I can. Then I breathe out and I expel all the air as much as I can, and I don't hold that because I find that that's difficult. So I just take a deep breath in, and normally when you breathe in you should push your ribs out from the side and the back. When you learn to sing, they teach you to push your ribs out from the back and from the side so you can get as much air into the instrument as possible. So the idea is to breathe, to push your diaphragm down as you breathe in. As you push your diaphragm down, the ribs will go out at the sides and the back. So you breathe in, your diaphragm goes down. Sometimes to start, to get the idea, you can push your stomach out as you breathe in. Now most people in the clinic, and I teach them different exercises, I say to them, okay, breathe in and immediately their stomach goes in as they breathe in. You might just want to try that. Just take a deep breath in, see what your stomach does. Does your stomach go in or out as you take a deep breath in? It must at least go out to start with, so you know you're doing it properly. Because when your stomach goes out, it means you're really pushing your diaphragm down. If you try to breathe in, your stomach goes in, your diaphragm goes up. So it's your diaphragm, like a bellows, that pulls down your lungs. So just to get used to the idea, you can start by pushing your stomach out as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, your stomach goes in. Think about it. Practice it. As you breathe in, your stomach goes out. As you breathe out, your stomach goes in. Simple. Do that little practice. So by employing that method and taking a deep breath in, you suck not only the oxygen into your body, but the air and the prana or the chi comes into your body, and you draw it right in to your system. And then when you hold it for as long as you can, that allows the body then the opportunity to absorb the prana or the chi. So what I do, I try to center it at my what they call the solar plexus, or just where your rib cage comes to a V up here. I try to draw it all into there, and then as I'm holding it, I try to focus on the energy going up into my brain. Then as I breathe out, I imagine the energy's going down from my brain, down my spinal cord, out through all the nerves to all parts of my body. So let me just quickly repeat that. I'm lying preferably outside on the grass, hands and feet on the grass, bare feet. I have something over my eyes. I'm very comfortable, usually something under my neck, something perhaps a towel on the grass to protect me from the grass. And I take a deep breath in. I do my 10 deep breaths to get ready or whatever. Take a deep breath in, hold as long as I can, and then I breathe out. And as I'm doing that, as I breathe in, I draw the air and the energy into my solar plexus. And then as I'm holding the breath, I draw the energy from there up into my brain. and as I breathe out, I send the energy down into from my spinal cord out to my nerves. And I find once I've done that for about 10 minutes, my body starts to shake. Actually vibrates, just shakes almost uncontrollably, because I feel the energy's just bursting through my body. It might take you a little while to get to that point, but it's quite incredible when that happens. And what I found by doing that, and I was doing it for about 10 minutes every day, that I had more energy, that I slept less, and people were commenting on that because my patients come in all the time and see me, and sometimes, after you've been working for 5 or 6 hours straight, you sag a bit, and I don't just mean from age, but you sag, your energy drains because you're giving out all the time. But very big, you're very busy mentally, emotionally, physically. You're putting it out, and we see a lot of patients, and you're giving out, and sometimes patients are emotional. So it's a big drain, and people come in and say, you're looking really well, and that's really nice because they only see me every so often. So it's nice when you get that feedback. But what's more important is how you feel about yourself. So I would highly recommend that. Yeah, okay, it's more time that you've got to give, but really what it does, I believe, is it, in a sense, gives you time because you're able to do more. You need less sleep, you're able to get more done in the same amount of time. So it might seem like sacrifice, but really it isn't. It's an investment. It repays you. So if you practice that, ideally every day, but if you can't do it every day, do it 3 times a week. But I can highly recommend that. Now, what I also do is I work on activating my chakras at the same time. I'm not going to talk about that now. I'm going to talk about that in another newsletter that we have, but just to whet your appetite, that you can add to that. Now, I realise this all may sound very metaphysical, and for some of you, you might say, oh, you might have already, no, you wouldn't have already turned off, but you may have already turned off mentally, because you might think it's a bit way out and it's just not you. It's maybe not scientific enough for you, but I promise you, if you do it, you will notice the difference. There's nothing more scientific than actually being able to observe results. So I highly recommend it, and I will talk about the chakras another time. And again, this is Dr. Bill, wishing you health and happiness. Thank you. See you soon. Hi, this is Dr. Bill, welcoming you to our next newsletter. Good start, isn't it? In a previous newsletter, we talked about the powerful effects of breathing and how by lying on the grass, where you can get with your bare hands and your bare feet, with your knees bent, you can actually absorb energy from the ground. Lying in the sun, when it's not too hot, you get energy from the sun. And by doing deep breathing, you can actually not only oxygenate your body and all those benefits, but also draw in chi or prana into your body, which is a form of energy, even a healing energy. And I talked how easily it was to do that. Just spend about 10 minutes a day and just take a deep, you do 10 start-up breaths, warm-up breaths. You get your lungs ready, you breathe in deeply, you breathe out deeply. You do that for 10 times. Then what you do is you take a deep breath in, you hold it for as long as you can, then you breathe out. Simple. As you breathe in, your diaphragm descends, so your stomach might tend to go out a little bit, expand your ribs at the bottom. As you breathe out, your stomach goes in, thus expelling all the air from your lungs. So as you do that after a few times, your breathing gets more and more strenuous, could I say, or more and more deeper, so you're actually able to get more air into your body and also more prana and more chi. And it's also important to be able to concentrate your mind when you're doing this. Rather than be thinking about something else, you need to concentrate on what you're doing because it will be more effective. So you bring the air in, you concentrate, you bring it into your what we call the solar plexus. You bring the energy down there as you're breathing in. This is what you're concentrating on. Then as you're holding your breath, you draw the energy up into your brain. Then as you breathe out, you allow all the energy to go down your spinal cord and out through all the nerves to all parts of your body. Now what I also do as I'm going through this process is I activate what's called my chakras. Now your chakras are energy centers. Some people can see them. Some people that are clairvoyant or psychic or have higher sensory perception can actually see these chakras. And they're simply energy centers that spin. And it is believed what they do is they communicate with the energy around us and draw energy into our bodies. They bring the energy into the spinal cord, into the nervous system, and then it's distributed throughout the body. And each chakra has a generalized specific function. So I'm just going to go through those now. There's what we call the root chakra or the sacral chakra, and the energy comes in through the roundabout where your anus or your bottom is or your coccyx is, comes in there and it goes out through the pubic bone. And the color of that chakra is red. And what it does, it has the energy of vigor and vitality from your body. So what I do is I'm doing my deep breathing and visualizing the energy coming in. I also visualize the energy coming in through the entrance point, which is, as I said, near the sacrum, so the coccyx, the bottom of the sacrum, comes in, then comes out through the pubic bones, and it's an energy that you can actually draw in as you're breathing. As you're breathing in, you draw that energy in, and you imagine that it's red, and that it actually creates vigor through the physical body. Then I move to the navel chakra, which is actually orange, and this is the energy of courage and of action and of application. And so again, the energy comes in from the back and out through the front, and so I visualize that orange energy rotating, but also spreading through my entire body as it comes in orange. The solar plexus, or just where your xiphoid is at the top of your, underneath your ribs at the V in here, that is called the solar plexus chakra, and that is yellow, and that's the energy of receiving and achieving, of abundance. And so you can concentrate on that energy and that yellow energy going throughout all your body. Then you have your heart chakra, which is situated in the middle of your sternum, right here, approximately where your heart would be, although it's a bit on the left. So that chakra is green, and that is the chakra or the energy of love, both giving and receiving love. And it's interesting that since I've been doing these chakras, that I notice I feel more loving towards people, and I can always use that, and I'm sure we all can. And I notice people seem to be more loving towards me. Now, maybe coincidence, I may be imagining it, but who cares? It feels good, so I'm happy. The next chakra is, of course, your thyroid chakra, and that one is blue. And that is the energy of it being able to express yourself. It's the power of words. It's the ability to communicate, but also it's the ability to influence others with what you say. And that's a very, very powerful thing to have. Then we have the third eye chakra, which is purple or indigo, and that's the energy of being able to perceive or see things or understand things. The energy of what I like to think of as wisdom. Then we have the energy, what we call the crown chakra, which is right in the center of the top of your forehead, and that is white. And that is the energy of communication with God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, that that's the energy of inspiration or revelation or of communication with God. That comes in through the top. And so the idea is, once you've activated all these chakras and you're lying there on the ground. Now, you don't have to lie on the grass. You don't have to do any of these things. You can just sit in the chair and just breathe in, do your deep breathing. You can do it anywhere, anytime. But I just find when I put it all together, I'm maximizing my time. So I'm really fast tracking everything. So the idea is, what I do is I pull the energy in, I get started, I start my deep breathing, do my 10 warm-up breathing exercises, then I activate each chakra in turn. I might do it maybe a couple of times, and once I get used to it, I might just do it the once, just to keep it away. And once I've activated all my chakras, then I imagine I'm pulling energy in from all sources. I'm pulling it in from the breathing, I'm pulling it in from the ground, the energy from the ground, my hands and feet on it. I'm pulling it in from the sun. If I'm in the sun, I'm pulling it in from my chakras. So my whole body is just absorbing this energy. As I mentioned in a previous newsletter, after about 10 minutes or so, my body starts to vibrate. And then what I do, once my body's vibrating, I just imagine that I'm vibrating with a massive healing energy throughout my body, that my whole body is vibrating with a healing energy. This usually takes me to do the whole thing about 15 minutes when I add the chakras in. If you don't want to do the chakras, you can look at our previous video newsletter that we did and just learn how to do the deep breathing properly. So as I mentioned earlier too, I'm always looking for things that will help me feel better, will help me perform better, will help me to be healthier and more energetic to do all the things I want to do. So I'm always experimenting and I'm always looking for things to do. The other thing I would just like to add is that when I don't feel a difference, I will usually discard them. And I tend, usually, most of the time, just share things with you that I found to be powerful, that I found to either work on me or to work on my patients. So this is Dr. Bill signing off, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Thank you. This is an add-on, if it can be done, to the exercise video that I've done. Hi, Dr. Bill here. I just wanted to mention that when you are looking to increase your results, particularly with your exercise, there are certain products and foods that you can do that actually will maximize your benefits. The Z8 product range has been specifically designed to help people to increase their performance. Now that may be for bodybuilding, and we have a protocol for that which you can find on the website z8.com. There's a protocol meaning which products should you take for bodybuilding, increase your muscle. We have a protocol for fitness. What products can you use to actually improve your fitness? What products can you use to improve your weight control? What products can you use to become more physically cut or defined or sculpted? And so we have protocols which tell you which groups of products, 2 or 3 products that you can use to actually help you with your exercise program and your diet program, which would just helps to give you much better results. So this is Dr. Bill signing off again, and I look forward to talking with you soon.